Wow, what a performance, and I have no idea how I'm gonna top that. I'm not even gonna try. I'm gonna follow this, but my name is Kris Glenn, and I'm a Transition House board member. I'm also someone in recovery from alcoholism, and I have a history of anxiety and panic attacks. I want to share my journey with you tonight. If you only remember one thing, I hope it's this. My recovery would look so much different if I didn't have love, support, and positive affirmation in my life. I now have almost 2 years of sobriety. But 16 years ago, my life was much different. I want to take you back there for a little bit. Drinking was an issue for me before my dad was diagnosed with cancer in 2007, but it became a full-blown problem after that. It was probably worse after he died in 2009. I remember drinking as soon as the funeral was over. I remember drinking the entire next day too. And any time a tough feeling or emotion came up after he died, I drank. I got this tattoo right here. Those that know me know that I have this. I got this tattoo on December 11th, 2012. You can do the math, you know how long ago that was. And it was to signify that I would never drink again. That morning I had woken up and I'd had enough. I had another hangover. I started thinking back throughout the year, and I realized that I couldn't think of a single day in the last 8 months that I didn't drink. After I got this tattoo, I made it less than a month sober. I continued to drink fairly heavily for 10 more years. Sobriety, as we know, is rarely linear. I drank at every possible emotion: grief, anxiety, stress, but also to celebrate anything and everything. I drank at any event that served alcohol and didn't really want to go to something that didn't have alcohol. I drank at Disney on Ice one time with my 3-year-old daughter with us. Proud moment there. Even though I spent many days hungover, for the most part I was high functioning and outwardly fine. I had a good job, I had a great family, I had a good life, but I wasn't fine, not by a long shot. I had a drinking problem, and it wasn't until I started developing crushing anxiety that I knew that I needed to change, that I needed to get sober. While the anxiety was absolutely awful, it was truly a blessing. I don't know that I would have sought sobriety without it. I couldn't keep going the way I was. I truly believe that people don't change until they experience enough pain. And I was in a lot of mental and emotional pain. At the bottom of everyone's addiction, there is always pain. My pain almost broke me in 2021. Around March of that year, I started getting anxious almost daily for no reason. And it was awful. I woke up anxious, I went to bed anxious, and sometimes when it reached a boiling point, I had full-on panic attacks. And let me tell you, drinking did not help things at all. Like they say in the recovery rooms, it works until it doesn't. And I used to drink to medicate my anxiety, but now it's like pouring gasoline on my anxiety. And if you've never had a panic attack, it feels like you're dying. I wouldn't wish one on my worst enemy. You feel like you can't breathe, the walls are closing in, you're suffocating. And the worst part, you can't talk. And for me, that's a problem. Like no words can come out of your mouth. At least that's how I felt. It was excruciating. I felt trapped in my own skin. And this went on for months in 2021. And I never said anything to anyone. I just wished the anxiety away, and it would come back every day. It got to the point that I was getting anxious about the possibility of getting anxious. I was so scared that I would have a panic attack that I would work myself into a panic attack. It was a vicious cycle that would spiral out of control. It was irrational, but it was overwhelming. In late July of 2021, I was sitting in a restaurant having lunch with my wife. It was a great day. There was no reason to be anxious whatsoever. Yet as we were sitting there, I felt my chest tighten, my breaths get shorter, and my words starting to fail me. I just blurted out to my wife that I was so anxious. For the first time, I came clean about the extent of my anxiety. I was suffering in silence before I opened up to her. That's how powerful anxiety can be. It lies to you that if you're on life, wouldn't understand. As we got in the car after lunch, I just cried and told her that I was scared. She couldn't have been more supportive that day and every day since. She reassured me that I was going to be okay. Things got better, but the anxiety wasn't totally gone. The important thing is I wasn't fighting alone anymore. It was also right then and there that I decided that I had to finally get sober or I wouldn't survive. That was the moment the pain of staying the same was worse than the pain of changing. Then came a day that I'll never forget. September 28, 2021. I was 2 months sober at this point, but my mental health was still in a really bad place. I had 3 panic attacks in one day. One in the morning, one at lunch, and one in the afternoon. I was exhausted and I couldn't go on living like that. And I knew I couldn't do it alone. No one can. I raised my hand and said I needed help. Real help. I was so scared about the stigma around needing a therapist or even medication. But I was even more scared about living my life the way that I was. And let's pause there for a moment. When our knee hurts, we have no problem going to the doctor. When we have high blood pressure, we take medicine. Our brains are no different. Yet there is still a stigma about going to a therapist or taking mental health medicine. That has to change. I started seeing a therapist around the same time that I told my doctor that I probably needed to start a daily medication for anxiety. I also joined a 12-step sobriety group. Life didn't get better immediately, but gradually I started having good days. I was having anxiety-free days. I started turning good days into good weeks, and good weeks became good months. In hindsight, this breakdown was a long time coming. I never dealt with my dad's death. I tried to numb it away, drink it away. You have to take life as it comes at you and not stuff your emotions and feelings down. They will come up eventually. It might take years or decades, but unresolved trauma will rear its head. I know I'm the best version of myself when I don't drink. I'm a better husband, I'm a better father, I'm a better son, and I'm a better person. Sobriety is a powerful choice. It's not a sad consequence. It's not that I don't get to drink ever again, it's that I don't have to drink ever again. Instead of numbing and escaping pain, stress, and anxiety, I face life head on now. I feel more alive than ever. It's not always easy, but it is always worth it. I still have some anxiety from time to time, but I have learned that it passes, that it's all going to be okay. It's also important for me to remember these truths. I have survived everything in life that I never thought I would. I have made it through 100% of my bad days. Everything that I was terrified that I would never get through, I did, and you have too. If you want to get better, if you want to get through your darkest days, you have to get honest and vulnerable with people. Those people will meet you where you are. That is the power of vulnerability. That is also the power of people who will love and support you. And trust me, there are plenty of people here tonight in our community that will love and support you. That's my story. It can be your story too. As a matter of fact, I know some of your stories. You never know how close you are to your breakthrough. If you think your pain will never end, don't give up. Don't you dare give up. Thank you.